Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to opening day 2018 of the MLB DFS season. I am Choppadong. I am the host of what we are now calling Chop Talk. Chop Talk is brought to you by your one-stop shop for all things DFS, dfsarmy.com/ref/3. Follow the link in the comment section of the video below. If you're finding me on YouTube, you can always find me out on Twitter at Choppadong. You can find me as a coach and contributor inside dfsarmy.com, where we have 20 coaches, 20 more contributors, 1,500 plus members, always chatting DFS 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all sports from MMA to NFL to EPL to, of course, baseball, basketball. Everything is covered inside dfsarmy.com. We have the tools, we have the coaching, we have the community, bringing you a personality in an impersonal world. We try to take the newest DFS player, turn him in to a very competitive player, but we also have the advanced coaching available for intermediates that are always looking to get better and grow their game. That's what we do inside DFS Army. I'm going to give you a guided tour today and welcome you into the baseball season with a bang. So let's, like a firework, let's start off, let's shoot high, let's aim for the top, let's go win some GPPs today, guys. One of the tools that we have brought over is our new research station. If you recognize the format, it looks a lot like Daily Roto Sharks, and that's because it is. CG and Ben and Scotty B and the guys have come over, joined forces with us, and have brought their sheets with them. If you're used to the format, I don't need to explain it to you. If you're new, and if you're not used to the format, let me show you how this bad boy works. This is like an Indy 500 car driving through your subdivision. It's too hot to handle. What we're going to do is we're going to dive in and show you the top 10s. This is the earliest and easiest place to start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close out what I was playing with earlier. I'm going to select all of the teams. If you're in a pinch for the day and you're on a time crunch, like many of us will be today, or you're just too excited to sit still, this might be the easiest place for you to start. We're going to start off by showing you've got batters, you've got cash players, you've got GPP and upside players, you've got pitcher rating, strikeout, who's got the best matchup today, who's Vegas favoring the most, team hitter parks, pitcher parks, all of it is on there ranked in the top 10 for easy glancing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort by position. Let's say I wanted to find the best overall second baseman on the slate today. I need some value. And I'm going to find it by clicking that box and opening up, and it's going to shift me down to all of these players. These are just second basemen now. Top-rated second baseman. I can check their salary, and I can see their overall rating and see how much I like them. LeMahieu, Forsythe, Kinsler, Zobrist, these types of guys are jumping to the top of the page today. If they're on your slate, maybe you throw them in your lineup. It can help you build some stacks in some other areas where you want to pay up for, say, Houston or New York or Boston or some of the more expensive hitters. You're going to need some value somewhere, so why not take a guy in the best matchup on the day? If I wanted to also switch this off and go by team, I turn those back on. I filter out by team. Let's say I wanted to run Colorado, and then I wanted to run some Dodgers and some Houston, and I'm going all the way to the top today. Who am I leaving out? Let's throw some Kansas City in there for some value, huh? Kansas City's got a high implied total on the day if you haven't noticed that yet. We're going to cut it down to just those 4 or 5 teams. You know what? I left out Baltimore. Oh, well. Sorry, not sorry. When I go down here, I can see the overall top 10 hitters on this page have all come to the top, and they all have massive ratings. That's how I'm going to sort and start figuring out where my core is going to come from. I can do the same thing with cash plays, same thing with GPP plays, and just do it to it. I can do the same thing with the top 10 hitter parks and just keep going nuts. When I switch into the top batter matchups page, now what I'm looking for is I took the day slate off. This is my own default setting. I took the day slate off. I'm only running the main, and so you can see some of these teams are faded out and some of these teams are in. And I can start sorting by position if I want to, or I can hold down the control key and just turn it off and bring everybody back up. The control button is your friend when it comes to these sheets. When you're a VIP inside DFS Army, you've got access to this bad boy. I can see that the #1 hitter rating, I can scroll across all of these stats like a numbers nerd and just go absolutely bonkers Go all the way back through left-handed matchups, right-handed matchups, all that stuff. I can attack bullpens. I can go through here and just look at the basic core numbers. Whatever, I can make it as fancy as I want to make it. But what I think everybody's going to gravitate to, and where I'm heading first until I've got more time to really dig into this bad boy, is I'm looking at player type. This is your cash player. This is your GPP player. I'm looking at a little bit of batter's eye and diamond rating. I'm looking at the DFSA grade. I take that DFSA grade and I sort descending. And I'm going to bring up the top rated players. And now I'm going to start filtering it out like I did that top 10 page. Okay? These are the overall top hitters on the slate. They should be in my top 10. In fact, they were. Now what I'm going to do, and this is with the day slate missing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first baseman. And I'm going to cut them down. And I'm going to go by DFSA grade and start noticing Ryan Braun, Jose Abreu, Lucas Duda in Kansas City, Freddie Freeman. Look, I'm going to take some of these guys, and I'm going to put them in my lineups today. If I wanted to double check some of the numbers and why they were coming to the top, it's because maybe they're facing a pitcher that has a high WOBA. Maybe they were a hitter and they had a high ISO or a high WOBA themselves. You adjust that for the parks, you adjust that for the pitcher, you adjust that for the way the guy's swinging the bat over a historical sample size, and you're going to pull the best hitters to the top. Maybe you don't like Ryan Braun or Jose Abreu, you'd rather go with Lucas Duda. That's fine. If you want, you scroll back over this direction, you can compare the salaries. If I want one of the cheaper value guys, go for it. There's a million ways. This isn't a right way or a wrong way. This is a million way to skin a cat thing. Okay, so I'm just showing you how I'm starting to do it, and this will evolve through the season. Hopefully I can keep you guys up to pace through these videos as you like and subscribe to the channel, and we can keep this thing rolling and become more and more and more sophisticated, because I'm telling you, this is a very overwhelming page. It's beautiful on the eyes, but this is like that big bodacious blonde that's also a Mensa member. I mean, she's going to leave you in the dust in every single way possible. If I wanted to shift over to the second baseman, I've got these guys by DFSA grade, if you remember, still pulled to the top. You saw the screen just update there. So when I'm looking at these guys, I'm looking at LeMahieu, Forsythe, Dozier, Altuve, Scoop, guys like that, Scope. That's what I'm looking at. I go to the third baseman. It's going to do the same thing. Arenado, Moose, Lamb, Cozart, Valbuena, Donaldson. It's going to start pulling these guys all to the top for me. And I can start mixing and matching. And what I'm doing right now is I'm pretty much only using this. And I realize I'm only cracking 5% of the surface of this tool. I can also go into starting pitching matchups. And where I'm using that, I'll come back to the batting page in a minute. Where I'm coming back here, we've got your DFSA grade still, if you remember that. And what I'm looking at here is the pitching K percentage. I sort that because strikeouts are very, very important in DFS. I'm looking at a little bit of Vegas love. If you read Chin Music this morning, a little bit of Vegas love, a high K score, and price. And I'm going to tie break on price. So what am I doing with the K score? I'm looking for the grades, of course, but I'm looking at the K score for high strikeout pitchers, and then I'm going to the opponents for high strikeout teams. And I can find down here that Noah Syndergaard, well, I'm not on this page changed. I would have to block these off, but this is an overall main slate, so I apologize for that. If I come down here to a high K team in, who is this? Boston. Boston didn't strike me as a high K team last year, so that's really, really interesting. But Chris Archer is a high strikeout pitcher on this sheet facing a decent K team. So I'm looking for the best possible combination of both worlds. You can tell I'm on the fly. You can tell I'm looking at this for the first time in front of you as well. I've done a little bit of prep, but not a lot. And I'm trying to find that combination of the best pitcher with the highest strikeout potential, the best team that is prone to striking out. That's going to lead to bumps in my strikeouts today. And then I'm going to look and see if Vegas favors the guy to win the game, and then I'm going to look at his price and I'm going to try and tie break. Somebody like a Chris Archer on these sheets is going to be very attractive to you if you look at it the way I'm looking at it. If I scroll over just a smidge to the DFSA grade, I can see that Chris Archer's up there with an 85. He's not as high as Syndergaard. He's not as high as a Kershaw or somebody like that. But he is a very, very high-rated pitcher on the slate. He might have himself a good day, and you found it through this sheet. Going back to the batter matchups, what I want to show you is how I'm kind of transposing this into our optimizer, the Domination station. And the way we're doing that, remember, I'm going position by position by position and finding guys that I like. And what I'm doing when I come over to the optimization tool, the Domination station, I scroll down a little bit, and I'll show you stacking, I'll show you all that stuff in a little bit, and I'm going to click on the position, say first base, And when it pulls up the first baseman, I'm taking the players that I identified off of the research station, and I'm advancing their numbers a little bit by adding the smiley face to them. I like, love, adore, whatever. I'm bumping them 5, 10, 15%. And what I'm starting to do is I'm going to start pulling these guys out and telling the domination station, favor these players, please. I'll let it fill in on the very, very back end of my build with all of the little value plays and all the little stuff that I'm not going to be researching today. I already know that because of the research tool, LA's in a good spot. I know that Gallo has value, of course, but I know Colorado's in a good spot. I know Houston's in a good spot. I know that Baltimore's in a good spot. I know Minnesota's in a pretty good spot. I know Kansas City's in a good spot. I want to start pulling these guys forward. And the way I do that is I go finding these guys in the domination station and start telling the DS, bump that guy. I'm also going to control my exposure when I build multiple lineups, and I'm going to set an exposure max of about 40, 50, 60, 70%, whatever I'm comfortable with, but I don't want these guys in all of my lineups. I want to mix them up a little bit, especially if I'm building 3 and 4 lineups today and giving a bunch of different shots to a bunch of different tournaments. I'm going to click maybe a minimum exposure if I want to force a guy in. I think I did that with some of the pitchers. Yeah, see, I wanted some Chris Sale in 30% of my lineups. No more than 30 because he's so highly rated on the machine that he's coming out in everything, and so I had to cap him. I wanted to put him in there a little bit, but I had to cap him. So I can control my exposures that way. I don't want Clayton Kershaw today. It's just a me thing. Everybody in the world, he's going to be a very popular pitcher. He should be. But today, I just don't feel like he's up there with a Sale or some of the, Severino or some of the other guys in what I can do around him with the pricing and the bats. So I went ahead and I put the total frowny face on him and just took him almost out of the mix. I made sure that his salary was so high and his projection was so low that the domination station is not going to pick up on him. It's another way that I can control that. Now, as I'm moving through and massaging these, going through the research station, position by position by position by position, and pulling out the graded guys that are also on the teams that I like, in the spots that I like, and the offenses that I want to target based on a little bit of glancing that I've done, hopefully through the chin music or something like that. I bring those back over to the domination station and I start bumping and tweaking their numbers. And as I do that, once I get those positions filled in and run through all of these different positions and get it set up, as you can see, you're going to find when it opens up the player pool again, which it hopefully did, there it did it. So now as I'm starting to get into the different positions, you can see all of the people that I liked that I bumped just a little bit, and I bumped their positions. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go set up my player stacks. If I wanted to run a 4-stack or a 2-stack on my primary team, 3-stack, whatever, and then I wanted to run a 2-stack on my secondary team or a 3-stack. Today, I'm kind of just going 3x3 while I'm playing with the optimizer. You can go 4x4. You can go 2x2. Do whatever you want to do. And I'm going to set these. This is going to pull about 6 players from 2 different teams. I'm setting the exposures on these teams. 20% Kansas City, 30% Dodgers, 30% Baltimore, 40% Colorado, 30% Houston. Make it 70%. Make it 10%. Don't include them. Do include them. Whatever you want to do. Once again, million ways to skin a cat. I'm trying to go through. I'm not touching the batting orders just yet. If I wanted to only focus on the top 5 guys, I would uncheck 6, 7, 8, 9, and I would only be pulling guys in the batting order from the first 5 spots. That's a way to accumulate at-bats for cash game players. We'll talk about that someday down the road. I bumped up the 20 different lineups. I left all of this stuff the same, okay? And I clicked out 3 unique players, and I clicked Optimize. And what I came up with in the player mix was a whole lot of Chase Anderson, Verlander, there's Sale, Sale's mixing in, Duffy, Severino, Anderson, Sale again, Sale, Anderson, whatever. And when I start scrolling through this mix of players, I'm going to start checking my stacks. I can see that nobody's in more than 60% of my lineups. Some guys are in 45, 55%. It's a good mix right now as long as this mix ends up working out for me. When I look at the first lineup with Chase Anderson, it's got Kansas City, Houston, Kansas City, Houston, New York, Houston, LA. That's a darn good mix if I do say so myself. I didn't do it. Our tool did it. How much research have I done? 14 minutes? Justin Verlander, Kansas City, Colorado, Houston, Colorado, New York, Houston, LA, Kansas City. Another good mix. If I scroll down a little bit farther, I might find something a little bit more concentrated. Kansas City, Colorado, Colorado, Houston, Houston. There's a Philly, LA, and I don't know where Nick Williams is playing. If I wanted to make this a little bit more hardcore, I would go back up here and I would adjust these numbers a little bit higher. I wanted to focus on Houston. I might change that to a 50%. Then I would rerun it, and I'm going to find more 3-player 50% or 3-player Houston stacks. But this is what it's going to start doing for me. If I'm wanting to single these guys out, there's some Baltimore with Scope, Machado. So it looks like it's capping it at 2 today. It should be throwing in 3. Now again, with more tweaking, I can make that work in my favor. And that's the whole idea. If you have to run this thing and spend 20 or 30 minutes with it, that's what the tool is for. I have spent hours with this tool in PGA last year before when I was learning how to tweak the projections and tweak the numbers. If I want to avoid, if I want to adjust with the smiley faces, that's fine. But if I want to actually control the fantasy points and I want to bump him down 1 point, click Optimize. See what that does to Chris Sale. Does it have him up towards the top still? And I want to mix him in these other lineups? Then I would go back, I'd bump him down another 0.5 point. Click Optimize. Come down here, watch, see where it starts. Is it mixing him better or is it still favoring him? I have to make those adjustments on the fly, and you have to put in the time and the work to get the Domination Station to do what you want it to do. But this is an absolutely customizable tool on steroids, and you can obviously go back up, download your CSV file, and go dump it into all of your contests. This is the best tool ever, and when we pile in the research station with it, best tool ever. You've got all the research at your fingertips, pulling all the top plays. You go take the top plays, you bump them in the optimizer, you start stacking up teams, you start stacking up lineups, you start running these mixtures the way that you want them. You rerun it, you tweak it, you rerun it, you tweak it. When you finally got something the way you want it, you go download the file, you go dump it into your contests, load up your slate. You're in and out in probably 30 minutes to an hour once you get this thing figured out. That's what our coaches are for, is to help you figure it out. We're also helping you identify contrarian plays, cash plays. We're trying to help you do as much as we can to help you build better lineups. We're not going to build these lineups for you and just hand them out. It's not what we do. Anyway, I wanted to give you a quick tour. Opening day, MLB 2018. I'm your buddy Chop It On. Come back for more Chop Talk. We'll start breaking down slates and things as the weeks go on. I'd love to have you follow me out on Twitter. Give me a like and a subscribe, and become a VIP inside DFSArmy.com by following the link in the comments section of this video. Thank you much, guys. We'll talk to you later. I've got a lot of work to do. I've got some lineups to build. Let's go build them.